It will be mostly a normal conversation, and I'll keep checking. So I can call you Phani.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, sure.
So Phani, one of the things that I wanted to ask you was that when was it that it all began? Even was it school? Was it college? That when you realized that because I somehow have seen that entrepreneurs, even who do 1 year job or 2 year job, they have something like this in their DNA, which begins a lot early than when they start. So for you, when was it that this thing started?
Yeah, so I think in my case, I would say it is probably not entrepreneurial spirit. It was the confidence. I think even for the entrepreneurial spirit at the fundamental level is probably the confidence.
The
So
ability to take risks and
or confidence that you will win. Confidence, yes, that you can take risks. Right, confidence that you can do an experiment, right? Not be look for safety of a job, but you can do something else.
Okay.
Right? So confidence that you can change the world, you can change the status quo. Right? Confidence that the others are probably not looking at the problem. So all these things, I think for me, it all started probably early on. So the way I look at it is the virtuous cycle of one confidence to another confidence. For example, in school, I was good at academics. So that gave me a lot of positive vibes. Like all my relatives used to say, "Oh, this guy great." It creates a positivity around you, which gives you confidence ki okay, kar sakte ho. And then when you're getting the best of the grades, you also know that others are not able to do as well. So you could do better, right? So, and then I got a campus placement. I was doing very well there. Again, that gave me confidence.
and BITS Pilani?
Yeah, at BITS Pilani.
Okay.
At BITS Pilani, again, I got a distinction. I got very good grades. Then I got a campus placement. Again, a very good salary. Right? So the series of one positive thing leads to another positive thing, and that leads to another positive thing. And every time the next positive thing is bigger than the previous positive thing. So you get into this virtuous cycle. I think that way, if you ask me when did it all start, I think it started in the childhood.
And so a lot of buzz around, and a lot of entrepreneurs say themselves that probably grades are not that important. So I just wanted to ask you what's your take on it, because again I have two sides on it. Sometimes I believe that they don't matter, and sometimes I'm like, to some extent they might matter. So like the way you are telling, I didn't know that you got distinction and that you were like a prodigy student and stuff like that. So
no, actually, I was talking about the grades to demonstrate confidence. I think what is required is confidence.
Okay.
Confidence could come from if you're a great sports person, or it could come from if you're a great academics. You're great at something which gives you confidence.
Okay.
Right? So it needn't necessarily be education.
Okay.
We've seen enough examples of dropouts in the US who go and build large companies. A dropout, they're this immensely confidence with their own abilities and whatever they've achieved. Okay. So what I would say is, I urge everybody to be in their confidence zone. At times I choose the spaces for me, for myself, where I'll be more confident than to get into something which will hurt my confidence.
Yeah, so basically you were saying that more than anything else, there has to be this comfort, this confident zone, that whether you but don't you think I if I'll be very honest, you're the first person who's probably very good in grades and all that, and I'm meeting him and who became such a successful entrepreneur. And we had all heard these stories, but usually people like you drop out in the middle and do something else. So what else was there for you? Like when you're saying you got campus placement, and when you probably must have gotten a very good job, and then what happened? If I were to ask you the story, like
so basically what happened in our case was I was working here in Bangalore, and my parents are in Hyderabad. I used to take buses frequently to go back home. And during the Diwali of 2005, I went to a travel agent to book a ticket. And that travel agent told me that he called a few bus operators and told me there are no seats.
Okay.
And I accepted it. I was just leaving his office. And that's when he told me that maybe another travel agent could get me a seat. And that really intrigued me. If this guy is a travel agent, why is he not able to get me a seat? Why is he asking me to go to his competitor? Okay. Right? But anyway, I went to the second travel agent. He also made 2-3 phone calls and told me there are no seats. Then I got a little curious. I thought, okay, maybe if I go to the third travel agent, I could probably get seats. Okay. So that way I went to like 4-5 travel agents, but none of them could get me a seat. Okay. And I ended up being in Bangalore for the long weekend. Okay. And the next day when I woke up, I was feeling guilty, and I thought maybe we could create a computer software where all the bus operators come and publish their inventory, and all the travel agents could just pick up inventory from their first come first serve. Okay. Which means if I go to the first travel agent, he just logs onto the system and tells me whether or not there is any seat in the entire city which is leaving to Bangalore that night. The customer is less guilty because he doesn't have to go to one travel agent to another travel agent. Okay. So that was the idea. And then initially we thought, okay, we were very passionate to solve that problem, yeah, rather than build a company. Actually, this whole thing didn't exist 8 years back. The entrepreneurial spirit, yeah, and the VCs and next big what wasn't there. Your story wasn't there. All these things weren't there 8 years back when we started. Okay. So for us, what was driving was we create an open source solution, give it to the bus operators for them to use, okay, and once they start using it, we as end consumers would benefit. So that was the whole objective, okay, as to how we got into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so and that time you were working with which company?
I was working for Texas Instruments.
Okay, and then you told me that you kind of took permission from them, yeah, to basically start building.
Yeah, so
because I mean that's also a very good thing, because not a lot of people take permission from their employers to, yeah, do something on the side.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, it just happened then.
Yeah.
But I think we got transformed quite a bit after we started the company. For example, I'll tell you one thing. Like before we started the company, I used to break traffic signal. Okay. And when a cop catches us, we used to pay bribes. Okay. So that was me before the company.
You were so confident that the cop won't catch you or something like that?
No, it was not like that. It was just youth.
You don't give a, like...
why should I pay a fine? Yeah. Right? I mean, the smartest thing to do is to bribe the person.
Yeah.
Right? And that was heroic rather than paying a fine. I mean, at that age, paying a fine is not heroic. Yeah. Right? So I used to be that. But after we started Red Bus, we got very good mentors. Okay. And we also had a chance and need to introspect as to why is the world the way it is. Here you have a responsibility of, let's say, 500 people, 700 people who have to behave in a particular way, who have to be ethical, who should not cheat you because you trust them, right? When you think in that context, you suddenly understand why these rules were set up in a human society like ours. When you introspect and figure out, you ask questions to the mentor, you get answers, and that's when you transform. So,
and then when you grow, then you realize that initially when you are starting out, you're a team of bunch of friends who are doing this to solve a problem for open source. But when you become, you have to get those policies in place and stuff.
Yeah.
And how was that as a transformation when you were just so? I have seen a lot of people go from the stage where they are a team of 4-5 people and friends are running a company, to a more formalized structure where there are policies in place, there is an HR team in place, and employees have to follow this rule book or stuff like that. So how was that transformation for you and your employees and the company?
Yeah, that happened because I think we had maturity as one of our values. So we had 3 values in the company. Okay. It's called HMH. The first H stands for honesty, M for maturity, and H for hard work. Okay. Because these are only 3 words that we respect when we are here. So because we respect maturity, people, when they don this hat of maturity, that suddenly everybody accepts. Like I don't think anybody denies saying that, okay, a culture of a startup changes when it is a 3% to 300 people, right? Just sometimes they just don't want to accept because they don't like to accept. But once you say, oh, you're a mature guy, you should be able to accept, then they start accepting it. So that way it was easy for the team and everybody to accept it. But yeah, culture does change as the teams become larger. To a large extent, we try to retain it, retain an informal culture, innovation culture, and many times culture of a company just follows the belief system of the head, whoever the CEO or the main founder and etc. It just follows. It mimics the behavior of the CEO. Yeah. So the best thing that you can do to influence the culture of a company is to change yourself
and make sure that you follow all the policies.
Oh
yourself.
yeah. I mean, habit is a habit only when it's consistent.
Yeah.
So you just have to follow it.
Yeah.
Keep following it.
Yeah. And one of the very one of the very important questions that I want to ask was that you said you were always like a topper in school, and college mein you got the highest marks and stuff like that. So but and that gave you a lot of confidence. But if I were to talk about, say, an average student in school or in college, and obviously what the society wants of him, or what his parents or what the college wants of him, is that he gets a good job after college. And I mean, that's what, and during school it's a good college, during college it's a good job, and I don't know what it's during job.
After that, it's a good girl or a good boy to get married to.
So to an average student, what would be the one advice you would give, say in school or in college, to at least make him start to figure out what he really wants, and probably he's not following that set pattern which was laid down not by him but by others for him long back. And this is not the case of one. This is the majority of the students, like say 95% of the students who will follow this pattern. So what is that one advice you want to give, which they can follow today and probably?
So that's tough.
Because how will so you got confident because you were very good at one particular thing, but
so I would actually probably I can give this answer. I wasn't good at academics right from the beginning. It all happened I was decent, but I wasn't this bright. I mean, who would get a state rank? I got a state rank, then I got a distinct. I was not like the top of the top kind of a people. I was okay, but the transformation happened when in 7th standard my parents moved from district headquarters to Hyderabad, and Hyderabad at 7th standard, the school fee you carry and pay in the school because you're old enough for parents to give you the school fee and etc. And suddenly I realized that the school fee went up 4 or 5 times. And all the other expenses went up so many times. And I was amongst the students who are born and brought up in Hyderabad, who very, very can at least are advanced than person from a town like me. At all that suddenly told me that I have to work hard, because I have to make good for my parents' expenses which have gone up and etc. So somehow that resolution came in me, and I started working hard with more focus and this thing, and suddenly I started getting great grades, and I got into that orbit of virtuous cycle. Right, one positive thing leads to another positive thing, and that leads to another positive thing. So it is the same me. Right, a person who could not get even the top 5 ranks in a town, how come he's got the state 3rd rank or whatever, the 4th rank, or was the whatever rank, right? How did he get that rank? That has happened because the transformation within me, right, saying that I could do it. So one thing that I believe is, in terms of intelligence, every one of us are actually very, very intelligent. The reason I say that is because we are all alive today.
Yeah.
Right? See, if you are not intelligent, you would have been dead by now. Because let's say you're walking on a road, suddenly a car comes from the other side which you have not seen. When you see that car, in a split second, you move back and save yourself. Look at that reflex, look at that intelligence, right? In a split second you're able to take that decision, which means you're already intelligent, right? It says that you're not using it here because it doesn't appeal it to you, right? So I would say probably to them to figure out what is it that appeals to them and then go full throttle on it. Or the other way to do it is have immense trust on the instructors. One other thing that has helped me all through my life is have this big belief on your teachers, right? I know like I could understand science and mathematics so well, and I built such big confidence on that subject, mastery over that subject, because of the great teachers that I had. I mean, I had a okay teacher, but I had this great belief in him that he knows the solution. Half the time, because teacher teaches something, and if you don't understand, you feel oh teacher को भी पता नहीं है, वो कुछ तो भी बोल रहे हैं, right? मगर the minute if you change from there to इनको पता है, let me understand how much ever he understands, then the respect that you give to the teacher, just that respect will motivate the teacher to actually, even if he didn't know, he would go and learn and come back and teach you, right? And once you have the clarity of the subject, you have mastery of the subject. Even when you start a company, right? Once you have done it, you know how to do it, you have mastery of it. I mean, that's where the confidence comes, right? Once you have the mastery on it.
That's one very interesting point you said, because whenever we go to like 10th standard, 11th standard, or when I was there, we just start getting this thought from somewhere that we are probably more smarter than the
Teacher.
people who are teaching us, or and that continues to be the same in college as well, except a few teachers for which we get certain kind of an affinity, and apart from that we consider that we are probably smarter, and they are there because they are probably not smart enough to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that is the attitude, especially in India.
Yeah.
Because to be a professor in a US university is much more prestigious than to be a professor
yeah.
in any other college, except obviously IIT, BITS, and if I leave these prestigious institutions apart, any other engineering college you go, students think that they are probably more smarter than the teachers.
Yeah.
And the teachers are there because they couldn't probably get a good job.
Good job. Actually, and that attitude is a vicious cycle. Because you don't give respect to teachers, teachers don't find it exciting to work hard for you. And because they don't work hard for you, they can't impart good teaching to you. So that's a vicious cycle that is getting it. I would say just flip it, right? Even if the teacher doesn't know anything, because he's been teaching the same subject for the last 5, 10, whatever number of years, right? If there is a problem statement in the subject, his ability to understand the problem and figure out a solution is much better than your ability, because this is your first year of learning. So imagine now this combination, right? A person with 15 years doing the same thing is faced with this problem statement, and you are also faced with this problem statement. If you take one day to figure out a solution, he'll probably take 1 hour to figure out a solution, even if he didn't know the solution. And if you have respect for him, he can come and teach you that in the next half an hour, which means within 1.5 hours you now have a solution which you would otherwise take 1 day for the solution.
And one of the things that I want to ask is that what is happening these days is, at least I graduated from college 2 years back, that and when I talk about it, and I'm not talking about IITs or NITs or BITS, apart from these institutions, I'm talking about engineering colleges in general. What is happening is that people have kind of there is a shortcut now, at least for the computer engineers I know, that they seem to ignore most of the subjects except the ones that let them build something. So even that happened with me. So when I was a programmer, I loved programming, I loved databases, I loved building out something. But when it came to subjects like theory of computer science or a lot of core subjects like microprocessors and which are there in the computer science syllabus, me and a lot of people I know who eventually ended up becoming good developers also didn't care a lot about those. So and then if you are into programming, then you go to sites like Topcoder, CodeChef, start practicing, and then you probably go to ACM, ICPC and stuff like that. And if you have done only this much also, either you can build out something good. Obviously I'm not talking about scale or something like that. For that you would need actually the knowledge. You can build it out, and secondly, if you're just good in programming, you can crack any job you want, at least. So my question is, and I don't know what the correct answer to is how important should the focus be on these core subjects? Uh, uh, because since you are the first person who is also a very successful entrepreneur who I've met, who is focusing so much about giving respect to teachers and good grades and stuff like that. So how important are these other subjects for, say, college students or computer science college student?
Yeah. So basically, if you ask me what of my education I have used
While building, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay. So basically, if you ask me what are the subjects that I've studied in my education that I'm using here, actually the answer is none. Because I studied electronics, etc., etc. I don't use that. I studied C++ programming, but again, I'm not doing any programming at Redbus, right? I did everything that I didn't study about marketing, about maybe people management or
Microsoft Excel.
Finance, Microsoft Excel, right? Nothing that I studied about. But does it mean that all my study and etc. were waste? I don't think so. That study, whatever that education imparted me the ability to learn. So when you are running a real-time business, right, it is equally demanding. You need to concentrate, you need to be on your this thing, you need to be smart. Like for example, you go to a bus operator, and bus operator, you ask him for X% commission, he twists and turns and etc. He says itna dunga, lena hai to lo, nahi to nahi. Then you should have the ability to calculate on the spot and say yes or no. Whereas a businessman who accepts the wrong deal can lose out. So even if you want to be a businessman, that ability to calculate, ability to concentrate, ability to figure out solutions on the fly is required, right? Now the question is, okay, for that one has to do all the courses, or one can choose and do courses.
Yeah.
So I think it's equally fine. I mean, if you choose only 4 or 5 courses, but go deep into it. Any course, as long as it's logical. I mean, what I've learned from my education is logic. Right? How does it work? The science, the fundamentals, right? And the same things gives me confidence that even running a business is based on logic, right? It works only this way. That gives you that, right? So instead of doing 20 courses, if you do only 4 courses, but do it deep enough so that you understand in and out of it, I think that should be fine. That should be fine. And in fact, Indian education should change to a more liberal thing, where many courses are offered to undergrads. All that the undergrad needs to do is complete the credits. Whether he does computer science, I mean, or biology, or sociology, psychology, shouldn't matter. As long as he completes the grades, number of units, and gets good grade there, he should be given the degree.
Okay.
Anyway, today, education, right? I mean, I don't think you learned how to do Android in your education, right? Even if you have learnt Android, you would not have learnt wearable. That doesn't mean that you will go unemployed when the wearable devices come or when something else come, right? The technology of the real world is changing so fast that no institution can keep pace with. So institution can only part the ability of learning to its students, and the students should go out and learn. So that way, it doesn't matter, because what you're doing, you would never learn at the university. So you learn what you want to learn, and then come and learn what you have to learn to do your job outside.
And these days you have anyways so many options to learn from. There are sites like Coursera, there are sites like Udacity who offer these full courses by the best instructors in the world probably.
Yeah.
And you can form study groups, and if you really want to go deep, you can definitely do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you are saying is basically that an advice to probably a school student or a college student, but on the contrary, what I see happening is, yesterday I was at this event called GCIM. So I met this 11th standard guy who's not studying anything now. He learned how to code, and he's building Android apps and iOS apps, and he got featured. He built an app, and now he's just focusing on that. So obviously we cannot debate on if it's the right thing compared to completing education or not, because either cases have seen but what is it that you have to say about this? I mean, what if my passion begins when I'm in 10th standard? what is the right time to like you could have started something while you were in college and not completed college.
Yeah.
So what is the right time to uh, just because then there is a difference between what you are expected to do and what you want to do, and probably so this is one question I would have asked you. um, Say after 12th standard, also at that time also you had good grades and you had learnt a lot, and say after 12th standard you had the option of not going to college and probably started something just out of school, and and you might have acquired those skills then and there without going to college, because that self learning wala capability probably school would have also given you. So I mean, I am also getting confused with the question, but it's basically when is that time, or when you should stop. I'm pretty sure that, or I would just twist the question, that when you told your parents that you want to quit the job and start Red Bus, so how was the reaction?
So with my parents, it was a little different story, and now with the current generation parents, it's a completely different story. Now,
See, I still disagree, because if you're now, though it's becoming a little popular and stuff like that, but still there are, even today, parents are a little hesitant about that. Why do you want to do this right now? Do your MBA, then do it. Do your engineering, then do it.
yeah. They are also right in their in their advice, because the statistics show that 98% of the companies fail.
Okay.
So whereas,
But I have a different thought on it. I believe that say I started a company, and if it was not acquired by common floor, or had we not raised more money, had it failed, then I think I would be still better off than just doing a job, because that 1 year where I was struggling and trying to build the company, one, the kind of people I used to meet, the kind of work I did, the kind of experience I have. I mean, we were there for 1 year, so at least we did one thing right. Probably we did product and marketing right, and not sales and operations, or something like that. So, and probably say, let's assume we failed after 1 year, but then the kind of people you meet while you're running a startup are other CEOs, maybe of small companies, maybe of big companies. That's how actually I met Sumit. He was a mentor when we were running Flat.2, and later on he only acquired it. So I think that even if you're failing, I think you're much better off doing it and failing than not doing it at all and probably doing your job. So how do you what do you think about it?
that is true. I agree with you. That is true. But that failing happening at a at a wrong time could actually be fatal. For example, you are a married person with kids, and you put in 5 years into it and then fail. By then you have exhausted all your savings, so your life completely drops down. It's sometimes it can drop down below a threshold from where you cannot come up again, so that can be a disaster. So failing is okay, but within the limits.
Okay.
Right, when the stakes are low, failing will give you learning, but when the stakes are high, failing can actually kill you.
So it's all the more reason to start as early as possible.
No, I don't think so. I think the aim of an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship should be to make it successful, irrespective of when he starts, where he starts, and etc. So imagine, like for example, me, right? Because I worked, I'll give you a comparison between me and another classmate of mine who started right after the college. And we started after, let's say, a couple of years of experience in a company. So when we started, because he had already started, we went to his office to learn how he starts a company, to take some motivation, inspiration, advice, and etc. We went to his office. His office, the half of the office was his personal cabin.
Okay.
And the other half, all the developers were sitting in a very small place.
Okay.
Right? That was his office setup. his office setup was like that because he had seen only his parents and maybe friends and families who were running traditional businesses. In the traditional business, the owner gets a big cabin,
Yeah.
and all the people who work will be set in that way, right?
Okay.
But that is not accepted in today's society.
Yeah.
Today is a knowledge society. In fact, everybody should get the same rights and the same privileges and the same office space and etc. and all that. So that I learned because I was working for Texas Instruments, and that became a very, very I think critical, and that and many other things that I learned at Texas Instruments came very handy in setting in the way we set up Redbus. And if you look at 5 years later, he had shut down his company, and he's now working for some other company, and we are where we are, right? So, and he's probably much better off than us. He started much earlier. He is more intelligent maybe than us, more courageous, more entrepreneurial spirit, and hence he started that way. But I think we should measure, in this context, we should measure entrepreneurship by the success. So the same thing if you take it forward, right? KFC started by the gentleman when he was almost quite old. Right? Still it is such a popular brand. Just because it started by an old man, it's not that we don't like KFC chicken. We still like KFC, right? So it is independent of the age of the person. It is independent of all those things. The entrepreneurship should be, you should do a meaningful stuff which is used by everybody, and do it when you are well equipped. No need to jump off the cliff when you don't have a parachute, right? You will die, and then you're letting others not take risk because you've died, right? Imagine you went in a parachute, so many other people will follow you. They think, okay, kuch nahi hua to we'll have a safe landing, right? So I think that is what we should do. One thing that I think we should erase, I think, which probably doesn't exist now so much as it used to exist earlier, is this coolness of being an entrepreneur. Okay. It is not cool to be an entrepreneur, right? It is in fact very, very tough to be an entrepreneur. Like in my second innings,
so the whole glamour which has come into entrepreneurship, and the fame, the money, and the girls. These are the three tags which are now attached. That if you will become an entrepreneur, you'll get famous, you'll get a lot of money, you'll get a lot of girls. So I see this stigma being attached now, and being a successful entrepreneur is compared to being a Bollywood celebrity or something like that.
Yes. I think today it is like that, and that's why entrepreneurship became so famous. Like we've been made heroes in national newspapers like Times of India, Economic Times. You read at least half the front pages for entrepreneurs. They are the new heroes, right? TV is everywhere. That is there, and that is done a lot of good.
Even half of the TV commercials I see these days
or by startups
with the free charge, Common Floor, Redbus. I mean, these are the companies I have seen grow in front of me. So
so that's good actually, because in a way it has got entrepreneurship into the limelight. Many more entrepreneurs, many more innovations are happening.
So I feel that though it can be made to sound cool, but people should talk about that. Okay, it's cool to be one, but it takes a lot of
rigor,
effort,
stress to make it happen.
And you have to go through a whole level of anxiety, stress, and there are ups and downs, which are like the ups and the downs both are very extreme when you compare it to a normal job.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And hence it's not so cool.
I mean, I feel it's kind of in the DNA, because if somebody, and these are the lines of my mentor Samir Guglani, who ran Morpheus, that for some people they have always been there are entrepreneurs like you who have had that confidence, and who do not, you were never afraid of failure because you didn't consider that as an option. So even for some people that's not an option. If they are dealing with a lot of issues and dealing with lots of lows and come out of that and go in a high, that's because they kind of wanted it. Because a normal job couldn't satisfy this
adventure.
So I mean, yes, that adventure which they always seek, that we have to go out. It's like a war. So you have to fight it out, and there will be bad days and there will be good days, but in the end it will be worth it. Something like that.
I think I think I didn't realize for such people, I think it's hugely exciting to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but I have so I have met a lot of there is a friend of mine also who is a famous entrepreneur, and I don't want to name him because he doesn't like it so. And he started telling that because of him also, the entrepreneurship became very cool, and a lot of students and in colleges are leaving colleges and starting up e-commerce stores and stuff like that because without having any knowledge, just because they want to do it, thinking that they'll get money, fame, and girls. So I think that's what the side effect of this coolness around being an entrepreneur is doing, because it's I mean you have seen it 100 times more than me that it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
I mean like you must remember the first time you have fired someone or something like that.
Yeah. It is a lot of those things, and it is a lot of those things. Yeah.
And apart from that, I want to ask, how do you see yourself changing in the whole process? Like what you were when you were probably in Texas Instruments, and then maybe 3 years, 4 years later when you were running.
Yeah, there are actually many things. Like I became more patient, right? More tolerant of things not happening. It changes you. I feel entrepreneurship is a process of self-purification. Right? I mean, you get so purified, right?
And then the one question off the top of my head is: entrepreneurship for everyone? Does everyone give it? Should everyone give it a shot at it, or in some or the other way? Because what I feel entrepreneurship is that these days there are so many platforms that some people look at entrepreneurship at, say, making $100 million company, $1 billion company. But the way I look at it is that there are so many platforms like YouTube, like Blogger, and these are the platforms where, even Facebook, where you can write, and whatever your passion is, that if someone likes singing, so there are a lot of people in US and there are a lot of people in India, and they were students, they were kids, and they just started following their passion and making YouTube videos, and some of them are celebrities. Like there was this girl called Tiffany Alford. She started making YouTube videos and now she's a big celebrity in US. And the same happened with Shraddha Sharma. There is another Shraddha Sharma. She was a singer. She started off making videos, and now she was the brand ambassador for MTS. She came in their TV commercial.
Oh, nice.
And she became famous through the YouTube videos.
Okay.
If someone loves writing, you don't have to go to a publisher today because you have Amazon.
Correct.
Amazon Pay, you can put it out on Kindle and you can see how the response is. Or even less than that, you can start writing a blog and make money through it.
Yeah.
So,
or just you can update your Facebook with all your Facebook can also take long status updates, so you could do that. Yeah.
But the only problem is that you cannot monetize it. I somehow feel that when they are able to monetize their passion, even though the aim is not
make
to make
it sustainable.
money, even though the aim is not to make money, but when you see you posted a video and it got say 100,000 views and you made 10,000 rupees out of it, so it suddenly gives you a boost.
Correct.
That okay, I mean this never happened.
I agree with you.
I thought I and my parents have always told me that my singing will never get me anywhere, or even the way comedy channels are coming up today, like on YouTube. It's a whole new world, like TVF and AIB and stuff like that. So I think those are. What do you think? Will you call them also as?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think people should do all those things, and that is also called entrepreneurship. I mean, these are all our internal definitions. Certainly, that also is entrepreneurship. As long as people are producing things which are happily consumed by the community, right? It is enterprising, and people should do it. Because if this comedy YouTube channel didn't exist, right, there are people who are watching them would not have been that happy. There are seekers. It is not a force fit, right? जबरदस्ती से किसी को नहीं दिखा रहे हैं.
And even now you're seeing Bollywood celebrities actually going to these YouTube channels.
Okay, I didn't know that trend. But that's it. I think internet has made democratized many of these things, and it has broken a lot of barriers. Earlier, you needed a satellite TV to do that. You don't need that today. You can put up your music. Earlier, you needed a record label to release you. Today, you don't need it.
To record, and now the phones are smart enough that you can at least start showing and taking feedback.
Yeah, many of these things have made that possible, and I think we should leverage those things and start creating products and services and things which
Content.
are used, which can be used by the community. And your community is the biggest voting machine, right? When they like it, they give you money or in whichever way, and then that becomes a self-sustaining effort.
And then one of the most important questions that I want to ask is that initially when the company is small, most of the decisions that you take are through intuition or gut, that we feel this is the right thing, that's why we are doing it. But then the company becomes big, then there are 200-300 employees in you, and it's like a 3-year-old 4-year-old company, and there are investors you have to report to. Then do you see a shift in your decision making, shift from intuition and gut to data, more data? And if yes, if no, why is that? And if you were to retrospect today and go down the memory lane, what do you think? Should it be more from intuition?
So I feel intuition also follows logic. It's your subconscious mind making the logical decisions, and that logic or the algorithm is built over your years of experience and the exposure that you got.
Okay.
Only thing is it's not your conscious mind which is putting an algorithm and saying this. It's the subconscious mind doing exactly the same thing, and the algorithm is built with your experiences. So I think doing by intuition and gut is not a wrong thing, as long as you have the proof that your subconscious algorithm is right. What I mean that is, if you have got some of your intuitive decisions right in the past, right, you can go with the intuition, because that means that your algorithm is set, right? But if those are wrong, then I would say don't go by that, because that is not set yet.
So in that case, I mean, what would you recommend, to go by the data or to go by?
So yeah, you go by the conscious mind,
The
where
more
you're
logical-
going through the more logical stuff, and once you have a learning there, over time you have that learning over time that gets into your subconscious mind, and then it becomes an intuition.
Okay.
So in my evolution, yes, we used to take a lot of decisions with intuition in the early days, and it used to be good. I mean, that's how we got from zero to whatever we got in the early days. But from then on, we faced the same problem. Then we had a large team, and then intuition is your thing, right, which you can't put a logic to. Because it's a subconscious mind. But in the team, you have people who want to understand the logic, who can't say ऐसा करना है तो करेंगे, because today it's a knowledge society, so people need logic. People need to know the reason why it is being done the way it is being done. So that's where, once you have a solution, you kind of, before you present it to the people, you go through the logic in your conscious mind. ऐसे कि मैं ऐसा क्यों बोल रहा हूँ, क्या है? You go through that iterations and then start presenting to the team, because they need the logic, and you have to do that. Otherwise, you become a dictator, and you can't motivate and put enthusiasm into the knowledge society to go in the path that you want them to go in.
And say, I'm not sure if you want to answer this question, but if you were getting acquired, was that a decision from the intuition or data? or it was more of a logical, it was the subconscious mind or the conscious
It was, besides these two, it was also a third thing, which was emotional.
Okay.
Right, you have the heart as well, right? I mean, besides the conscious and the subconscious mind, you have the heart as well. So it was a decision with all those things. Because it's not a small thing. So, I mean, because you have been at it for 8 years, and this comes all of a sudden. So we looked at through all the paradigms that we could look at, and then we concluded at the decision. But one thing that we've always done in our 8 years of life is we've looked at the glass half full, instead of worrying over the glass half empty, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other questions which I heard a lot of other people also say, that why did they sell early? They could have made it so big. And I think those questions will never stop. I think even
Yeah.
you would have done it 1 year later or 2 years later, then also they would have been that it was still early. Because if I think if see, I don't know what your take about money is, but I think after a certain point, if you start worrying about the numbers so much, then I don't think you can take the right decisions. But I haven't made so much money to
No,
comment
no,
on that. But
no, completely.
what's your take on that?
Yeah, completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. And then I believe that it's a personal choice. So I can't say that this is the right way and everybody should follow it. It's a personal choice, right? I mean, I have so much respect for Dhirubhai Ambani. I mean, for what he's done. Like, he's come from nowhere, from a town without a proper education, and he's built the country's largest private company, right? And maybe he was driven by making a lot of money, even beyond what he could consume. But I mean, as long as he's done in the legal way, that's fine. It's not wrong to have an ambition to be the richest man, right? It is wrong to have an ambition to be a terrorist, but not a richest man, right? So that's okay.
And what's your ambition?
So abhi to I'm on a break, so I'm just seeing the life the way it's coming by.
Say, when you were running Red Bus, what was?
Oh, then it was creating that solution. Of course, it changed almost every now and then. I mean, initially when we started, the only ambition that we had, irrespective of whether it made money, didn't make money, whatever, was to computerize the bus industry, so that people like me, when I want to go and buy a bus ticket, would get it through a computer system where there is transparency in what you are getting, and there is seamless availability of inventory. That was it. Then, but after we started doing it, then after a while, then you ask this question always, right? I mean, Abhi, what is the aim in the life? What do you want to do? Right? Until you get the first rank, your aim would be first rank. But after you get first rank, you would say, Abhi, main kya karu? Right? Then you discover another aim, and then say, I want to do this. Then you discover another aim. You want to do that, right? Without aim, you would probably become mad.
Yeah. So right now you are on a break and having no aim.
Right? No aim. I'm generally enjoying my break, meeting as many people as I can, and seeing the world from different perspectives.
And after the break, what do we expect from you?
So I don't know. Even I myself don't know. There are many things that I am doing. Like, I've become a EIR at my college, Entrepreneur in Residence. I'm mentoring a few companies. I happen to invest in a few companies.
Okay.
I am joining a board of few companies. I'm an advisor to a fund. So there are a lot of things I'm doing. I partnered with one of our board members to do some philanthropy back home.
Okay.
I'm also taking some courses, learning. So many of these things. So I know which of these. But one thing that I am sure, I know, I hope it happens the way I'm thinking. One thing that I am sure is, amongst all these parts that are there, I want to choose a path where I have a great teacher. Right, because teacher can make your life, and it is always like during my entrepreneurship days, Sanjay Anandram was my teacher, and he changed my life. During my class education time, I had a teacher, Ravi Chandran. He changed my life. So these teachers have always changed my life, and amongst all these paths, whether it's philanthropy or teaching at a college or taking classes or doing PhD or investing or mentoring or starting another company, right? Wherever I get a great teacher, I would be more inclined to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and do you agree that like, we'll just end this, otherwise it will be too long and tough. So a few more questions. That, do you agree that doing that for 8 years and now probably taking a break, but you will eventually get bored of the break because you're used to that adventure, you're used to those crests and troughs that that there has to be highs and lows and like you have to build something. So do you agree, or at some point you become like the mature enough, okay, so that was one part, and probably in the second innings I'm going to focus more on letting others build and probably helping them out?
So I think it's a personal choice, and I think how much I understand of myself, I think I'm driven more by not the adrenaline of crush and troughs, but I'm driven more by the creativity of innovation.
Okay.
Right? If I come across something really innovative and creative, I might end up doing another company.
Okay. Okay.
But if that isn't there, just for the sake of adventure, I am very unlikely to do it. For the sake of money, I am very unlikely to do
just
it.
for the sake of, say if you were to start something tomorrow, on day one you will get investors and stuff like that, and you can do it. But just for the sake of it, you wouldn't do it.
Oh, that is the out of the bound.
Even
out
if
of the
even
thing.
if even if even if probably it's something not that innovative, but you found an idea and there is a lot of money creation, you wouldn't do it
I'm very less likely to do it.
unless you are
They
inspired
say,
by solving that problem in a more creative and an innovative way.
yeah, correct. Yeah, because I mean that is what I think I am. Like even Red Bus happened not because of the business; it happened because of the solution.
And
I was
and,
more
and
excited
when you
about the
and when you
solution.
talk about creativity and innovation, mm, so for a space which is big enough for say 2-3 competitors, and so what you mean is that unless it's disrupting in a completely different way and innovating, just for the heck of putting something out, even though it might end up making money, you wouldn't do it.
Oh, certainly not.
Because
Certainly
that's
not.
what happening because that's what happening with the entrepreneurs these days.
Yeah.
So suppose I see a lot of stuff that happens is that suppose there is a big company and doing XYZ. Suppose Flipkart is there. So these entrepreneurs are finding niche markets and then probably selling a lot of stuff for that niche. But I also don't, unless they are selling something very creative, or then it's fine. But some of them are just figuring out small markets like two tier, 3 tier cities where they can set up operations and they can make money. And just for the sake of making money, they're treating this as businesses, and because it's a successful model on a national scale,
Yeah.
they're doing it on a small scale and earning money.
Yeah.
But and a lot of entrepreneurs are driven by that we'll do it for a small scale.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
So basically, I would say that it is not. Firstly, I want to say that it is not wrong doing that. So it is completely within the legal framework of the country. If people get excited of doing such things, then they can do. So I don't think it's wrong. It is right.
But you wouldn't do something like that.
I think I am not driven or excited by something like that.
And even before Red Bus, you wouldn't have been excited by something just
Correct.
to make a lot
Actually,
of money.
even during Red Bus, one test of the thing is even during Red Bus, a lot of people told us that you're getting so much traffic, you're getting so many customers. Why wouldn't you just launch one tab called hotel booking, or why wouldn't you launch a tab called airline booking? Because airline tickets, especially, each airline ticket was 10 times more costlier than a bus ticket. Which means if you put there and only 10% of your customers start buying airline tickets, that would double your top line. Right? That would mean such big thing for the business. But many people advised us, our investors, many people advised us, just put a tab there and then you would suddenly become from 100 crores to 200 crore, from 200 crore to 400 crore company. But we were not excited. We never did it actually until we sold, right?
Yeah.
Because that didn't drive us. And hence, I believe that
I would say that was a decision from the intuition and passion instead of data.
Correct.
Because
Absolutely.
data would have told you to do it.
Do it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if I were to sum it up, it's more of intuition and what you want to do, and more than what data.
Because if you do what you want to do, right, it will retain you within your confidence zone, and nothing can kill a company
If it's in their confidence.
if it's rather than losing confidence. If a person, CEO or founder, loses confidence, then he will lose the business, right? So I would always, like for example, people said, "Oh, why you're not advertising? Why you're not doing this, that?" Which we could not get ourselves to believe in it, and hence we didn't do it. And thankfully, our investors said, "Okay." Right? But if we were forced to behave like some other company because they're doing great growth because of some things like that, we would have failed. Because we'd have done it half-heartedly, that would have collapsed, and because that is collapsed, we would have lost money. Because we lost money, investor would have said something. The whole thing would collapse. So even now, like when I'm now I'm probably joining a few boards and advising a few entrepreneurs. But even there, one thing that I'm telling myself is, I would never go and tell him, okay, this is how we did it in Redbuzz, you should do it this way. Because he's not funny. Right? He is Vikram, he is Krishna, he is Raghavendra, whoever it is, right?
Yeah.
He has his own way of doing things and he has to be let. So one thing that I'm thinking I'd impart as a board member is the confidence to him. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Right? So let's see how it goes.
So whatever you want to do, whatever you feel is what you can do, just
Do
have
it.
confidence in that.
Do it. I am there if you want to just bounce off, brainstorm, saying right, wrong, and etc. But I can
and
never
even
get the
even to
recipe.
entrepreneurs who are in the stage, who have built a business which are seeing 3 to 4 crores of revenues. So one thing you would advise, if I were to take from that airline decision, is to stick in what you are doing and probably make that even better, rather than just adding more features or probably adding something else.
No. I'm not saying to focus on one thing. I'm only saying focus on what you believe in.
Okay.
If you have a belief that you should go to 20 different products, go and do 20 different products.
Okay.
But when you're doing 20
But
different...
don't do it just because your investor is saying it, or just because you think that you'll double the revenue.
Yeah. See, do it if your investor is saying it and you believe in it.
Okay.
Don't do it don't do it if you don't believe in it, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right. So as an entrepreneur, you should always be learning, right? Because you're born with a particular view. If you continue to do only that, you won't grow big. So you have to add to that learning every day. I can't say कि मेरे को एक idea आया था कि I won't sell airline tickets. So it's not that I will never sell airline tickets. Every day the context and the business situation and the world is changing. Along with that, I need to evaluate this decision almost every opportunity. Is it the right time to do now? ऐसा. You can't be adamant, you can't be rigid. See, मैंने 5 साल पहले ये decision लिया तो इसी पे खड़े रहूँगा, right? It's not that. You are like fluid, learning, changing. But when you do it when you believe in it.
It was very nice talking to you. And how did you like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I liked it. But I think, you mentioned, it is a little long. So you need to cut and...
So will you share it on Facebook?
Yeah, please. No. I don't think so, because the problem is, like I mentioned to you, I'm now enjoying my...
No, but I think
peaceful.
I think what you have spoken about, this should definitely go up, because I think people, and I'm just kidding. It's up to you.